Oh my what? It's an episode on The Last Dance. I'm here with my co-host Jason Patrick. What's up, Jason?
Do 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 do. Hey, do 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 do.
Everyone,
That's
yeah,
what I
exactly.
meant.
Good, yeah. Um, a lot is going on. We're gonna say it right. We're gonna be upfront about it. We recorded this episode, what, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks?
Been a
No,
long time coming. Yeah.
we had an episode ready for this particular topic right after the final episodes for The Last Dance aired. For those of you who don't know, the specific episode is going to be sports related. It's The Last Dance is referring to the Chicago Bulls. I guess you could call it what, like the dynasty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like it's I guess they had like a TV crew or a documentary crew following them around for that last season when they won in '98, right? But obviously it kind of goes throughout the entire history of the Bulls of
Oh,
Jordan's.
was that it? I thought they had them like since the beginning.
No, it was for that one season because I guess they had previous to that they didn't really want people camera crews around them. You know, they wanted that to be private, but they finally
Yeah.
gave a clearance. But then they didn't have the authority to use the footage in any way
Oh
because I guess
wow.
Jordan had to like write off.
Yeah.
Give not yeah, but
Yeah, I guess it is
consent. That
consent,
doesn't
right?
seem
Yeah.
like the right word, but
Yeah.
so it took them a very long time to finally use the footage. So yeah.
The right opportunity. Yeah, it was interesting. It was obviously produced by ESPN on ESPN Plus or what? I don't know, one of those channels.
It might
And
be on there now, yeah.
oh yeah, you're right. And it's also it was a Netflix not Canada, Netflix in Europe. Because for the
Okay.
way we saw, we streamed it. And I know when we were watching it, at least when I was watching it, it showed the Netflix logo a couple of times. So
Hmm.
they might have been ripping it straight from the Netflix one instead of the ESPN or whatever else is showing off. But
Yeah. And just a
uh,
caveat here, we'll try to make this as natural as possible for you guys because we are mostly going to be having a conversation we've already had. Maybe we'll try to spruce it up a little bit for ourselves, but
yeah,
hopefully it sounds as exciting as the first one
the
was,
first time.
your first go. Has this ever
I mean,
happened to you? Because like I told you, it happened to me once. I used to.
I've only ever done these with you, and I think
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say it was already kind of hard to do the first time around because there was all that
Hmm.
lag happening between me and you talking.
Yeah.
Remember?
Avon
So
had a lot of confused faces. He's like, I have no idea what Jason is
I was
saying.
like waiting
Because
for
yeah,
this. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
the technical difficulties were on my end, which the internet's been acting cool and where I'm living currently, but I'm kind of thinking of figuring that out. Possibly like just having a permanent setup at my parents' place where I was recording before, so that on
mm,
nights that we do record, maybe I'll just go there and it'll be already set up. But I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see. So far, so good. I mean, we've done the morning show like this already.
Yeah.
I do want to, before we get really into it, I have to remind people we're on YouTube right now. We're still on YouTube. We're uploading all the videos there as well as like on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes. We're all legit. You can follow us on all those. And of course, Instagram, we're Oh My WAD on there where we try to post up whenever we release a new episode, obviously, like this one, whenever
Hmm.
it comes up, we have to talk about it. But, and then we try to post up other stuff too, right? It's not just whenever we just do the episodes. Um, but yeah, what did you? Okay, let's start off. Like, what did you think of the series from the whole? Like, we're gonna mix it up because I don't even remember how I talked about it the first time around. So yeah, what did you think about it?
I mean, obviously, I enjoyed it. I mean, we're both Chicago boys, born and raised, so definitely have fond memories of those times. I mean, in a sense, I was too young to remember a lot of it, I guess. I mean, I remember it vaguely, but yeah, as far as the series is concerned as a whole, it was pretty awesome. I could watch countless episodes or endless amounts of episodes of this because it's a compelling story and the documentary was done really well. So
Yeah, I mean, it was what, like I think 10 episodes, 10
yeah,
episodes. And it was cool. I mean, like you said, we both grew up with it, but at the same time, we only watched it like peripherally, like we just watching the games. We don't know anything that was happening behind the scenes. Even
yeah,
as fans of it, like we would collect cards or play video games with these or not characters, with these athletes, we didn't know exactly what went into it. We just know like Michael Jordan's the best player in the world. Buy Nikes, eat your Wheaties or whatever. And that was like on a surface level. We never knew what went into it, and it's kind of cool that they weave this story in a way where, I mean, they're not trying to make anybody an enemy, but you kind of see who was the bad guy or who was kind of making it hard. They did a good job of that, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, as far as like I know I'm not going to keep saying that we talked about this. You guys already know that. So, but I guess the layout, the format of the series, a lot of people were complaining, which, I thought it was fine, but the series jumps around as far as timeline is concerned, right? It usually sets something up as far as what's going on in that 98 season, and then it contextually goes back, and I mean, or like it'll like lead into something, and then it rewinds in time and kind of gives you the context for the setup and all that. Like, how did you like how that was structured?
Yes.
I guess.
So it's funny you brought that up because I did find that confusing. That kind of bugged me a little bit, and I think I was thinking like maybe I'm not paying attention enough to really see what's happening or why this happened. I didn't even realize that this was a thing that other people were complaining about, which is kind of cool in a way because it's like it's not just me. I'm not stupid, like I couldn't follow the show. But yeah, it bugged me a little bit because I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, wait, like they just got Rodman, but he's been playing with them, and like, oh wait, this is like 6 years back, 5 years back.
Now we're gonna go back to like when he was on the Pistons, so he's not even on the team, but kind of like how he was on this hated team, the Bad Boys, the Bad
Which
Boy
I also
Pistons.
didn't know. I didn't even know that was like the team was known for that. But no, I mean, outside of that, like obviously everything that happened in the past, everything that they were showing, like it's almost kind of like origin story, right? Of each major player. I loved all that stuff. Just seeing the context of like where they were coming from, like in particular, like say we were talking about Rodman, how like we knew he had the bad boy status and stuff like that, but they still brought him in because it's cool. It's like I don't know. I wouldn't relate it to like Lord of the Rings, like Gandalf, Phil Jackson being the Gandalf, and bringing this fellowship of just like a bunch of different athletes together. Not only him, obviously, Krause was the one who was kind of scoping out all the different athletes to bring in, but it was crazy learning about Krause too and seeing how much of I was an asshole. Like
I mean, he definitely like put the team together, but in the same sense, like he's a guy who wanted attention, more of like
he wanted
the gratitude. Yeah, he wanted the recognition for what they were doing. And it's like, and you are responsible for putting those players together, but ultimately it is the players playing the game.
Yeah.
It is this coach who you fucking hate, or eventually hate. Those are the people
for no reason whatsoever. Yeah. And I think another thing too that I learned, which I mean I liked a lot, but excuse me, given that I knew it was about the Bulls, I felt like it was very heavy on Michael Jordan, right? It was pretty much, I mean, like it kind of starts with him like joining the Bulls because obviously he's the one who kind of kickstarts that whole thing. Yeah. But pretty much throughout the entire series, it's just heavy on Jordan, like where he was coming from, why he is the way he is, how competitive he is. I mean, I always knew a couple of things about him in that way, but not to the extent that they showed it here. Like he had, like, it almost makes me think like obviously they talk about him gambling, right? And despite like the fact that he says like, oh, I don't have an addiction, I don't have a problem. It kind of looks like
he has a competitive problem. He probably had some gambling issues for sure.
I mean, from what we've seen, like if you guys watched the episode, you see like no matter what, like he doesn't back down. Like if you're gonna, challenge him or whatever, he'll do it. And I feel like maybe he got into a lot of situations where people thought like, yeah, I'll beat you because he has money, and maybe there's a way to like grift him or something. I don't know, but it was really interesting to see how that happened. But also, it's just crazy seeing that going back in time and seeing like the amount of attention he had, right? Like I think we noticed or saw how he was just kind of locked up in his little room What are they like? This is my life. Like, who would want
Yeah, just
this?
hanging with the security guards, like those were his friends, because he can't have some sense of normalcy really,
Yeah,
uh, which is it's sad.
it is. Yeah. Did you notice that there was a guy there? He was a white guy. It said Michael Jordan's best friend. He was
hmm
like an older white guy. Do you remember seeing that?
No.
Yeah, he said. I mean, he was on there pretty. I mean, I won't say like a lot, but he showed up a lot when they were talking about Michael, and it said Michael
Okay.
Jordan's best friend. He just looked like a regular white dude, like
Uh-huh.
some random dude from a bar. So anyway, I forgot his name. I should have listed it here. But I looked it up because I was like, this is his best friend? Like what? And not nothing against it, you know.
Yeah.
But I looked it up and I'm like, who is this guy? And obviously there was a lot of reports on it. You know, a lot of people were saying like, who is this guy that's listed as Michael Jordan's best friend? He's not. I think they just did that on there for the documentary. Like he even said so, like that's very kind of Michael to say that. But he was just his driver for like the
Uh-huh.
longest time, and he would just do stuff with Michael, like take him around or just do like run errands for him.
hmm
That's all he was. But he was there enough to obviously be able to, you know, talk about certain things, right? Because he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was there, and Michael's like this, and it's like that. Um,
It
but yeah,
actually reminds
that was
me.
really funny.
What was that?
No, I'm just saying that was very funny. Like I was like, that can't be his best friend. I mean, I don't know who his best friend is, but that can't be it.
Yeah, just a little side tangent. It reminds me of when I was younger. One of my best friends was Lee. We did a lot of movies together. 'Cause I used to make movies when I was a kid, which I've talked about.
Hmm.
We talked about on a regrets episode, I think. Uh, but yeah, I referred to him as my best friend, but he didn't refer to me as my best as his best friend. So
Yeah,
I feel that. That's sad.
that's too bad.
But like as far as like the length of the series, because I feel like a lot of documentaries, they kind of try to milk it and
For
fluff
sure.
it
Yeah.
out, and then like it ends up being a little too long. But I thought this was a good length. I understand, like you said, it does focus on Jordan, but I do like how you had these episodes that kind of focus on certain players, like the Rodman episodes, and obviously
Pippen.
some Pippen stuff and some Phil Jackson stuff. So like I like how they really deep dived into that.
Yeah, like I mean, I didn't really know that much about like Phil Jackson's history, the fact that he was a player
Yeah,
for a while. It was like a wild
coaching in
hippie.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, yeah, that was nuts. And I was like, holy cow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That he did all that stuff. So it kind of makes sense of where he comes from. And it's funny because you mentioned that, but at the same time, I wish they spent a little bit more time on some of the other players. Like
hmm
Paxton shows up a little bit just to kind of give context on certain things, but he doesn't. They never really actually talk about him and how he came up. As far as
Yeah.
how he managed to get himself on the team. I know Bill Wennington was on there for a little bit, just on and off for like making just like a lot of the other guys were just kind of there just to say, oh yeah, Michael was like that, and then that was it. And like no one ever really said like, yeah, when I started playing, I was very anxious to play on this team, blah blah blah, nothing like that. So I wish
Yeah.
they did that. I mean, obviously they focus on the stars, but it is a whole team effort for them to get to that,
Sure.
to get to those
Yeah, I
champions.
like the BJ stuff, the BJ Armstrong stuff, especially like when he left the team and kind of had that one
Hmm.
great game against
Yeah,
them in the playoffs. So that was cool. But yeah, like you said, the Bill Wellington, he was kind of like a mainstay throughout the series. I thought he had a lot of
yeah.
interesting things to say. Yeah, there wasn't
Um,
much of that though. I guess there was
yeah,
the Scott Burrow, right? Was that the player
yeah.
that he picked
Oh
on all
yeah,
the
yeah.
time?
Caparella. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Uh,
funny.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's crazy how they just picked on them so much, or you would just kind of make fun of them, to the point where Phil Jackson was telling him, like, yo, kid, chill
back
out,
off.
dude. Yeah, back off. Um, I was gonna say right now they did talk about Kukoc, which I thought was really cool because it would have been interesting to
Yeah,
see a little bit more about him and how he came up in Croatia before
yeah,
them just saying like, oh, we're in the Olympics and we're playing against this hot new basketball player. He's like the hot new thing in Europe, you know.
Mm.
And because they beat him, and they were just like, we felt sorry for him. It's just like, because I think they had already said that they were gonna sign him, and then Jordan and Pippen
yeah.
were like, we're gonna show him, like we don't want him.
Like, let's see what this fucking guy's made of, and they just fucking destroyed him. But I guess he, like the second time they played the
Yeah, he played really good.
Croatia, he played a lot better. So, and obviously the Kukoc thing, there was strife there too, right? With so that kind of bled into Pippin's story, So like when we first recorded this, we kind of talked about anything new that we learned like throughout the series. So I mean, the Pippin thing, obviously, the contract thing, I didn't really know about how he just kind of prematurely, which I understand when players do that. It's like you could get hurt or you could have a bad season, and
Right.
that could hurt your pocketbook. So I guess it's kind of like a safe than sorry thing. Let me sign this
Yeah,
so I
it's like
know I
kind of
have guaranteed
levels. Yeah.
money.
Hmm.
But obviously that kind of backfired and
Yeah.
caused him to be pretty mad about the amount of money he was making. But going into the Kukoc thing, there's that moment where they want Kukoc to take the last shot and Pippen doesn't get to, and so he doesn't come into the game.
Just
He
yeah,
decides he's
decides
not
to
gonna,
not even play. Yeah.
which is shitty. Like I was always a Pippen guy growing up. Man,
Yeah.
like I'm. I know you're kind of a contrarian. I'm a pretty big contrarian. I guess I've been that for a while, for most of my life. But yeah, so I was always a Pippen guy, not the Jordan guy. But
Uh,
that definitely, paints him in a somewhat negative light there, because kind of quitting on his team at that moment. But yeah, but like, what did you learn?
I
Sorry, I
mean,
know like a tangent there, but did you learn anything new?
no, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, like, I don't know, like, still talking about the Pippin thing.
Pippen
Obviously,
thing.
that's new to me too. But at the same time, I feel like I know they mentioned it on throughout the series, or not throughout the series. One of the episodes where Jordan talked to Phil or something like that, and they said like he's never gonna let this down or live this
Never
down.
gonna live it down. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think he has. I don't think anybody even knew about it or really
Yeah.
remembered it that much because I mean we didn't know about it, and I sure don't.
Yeah.
I mean, does that change your view of Pippen in any way? I mean, he
I
doesn't
mean,
play.
it makes me
But
like relate to him more because like I'm a shitty guy. Like I've done things like
yeah,
shitty
I
in
mean
my
it's
life or
yeah.
things that I regret. So I mean, I just think it makes him more relatable in that sense. And I
I
mean,
don't.
it is weird how he kind of doubles down on it because they do
He
ask
did
him
say
about it,
if he
and he's
was,
like, "Yeah, I'll do the same thing. I'll do it all over again."
yeah.
Uh,
Um, I
yeah,
thought that part was shitty. Like I would have figured he would have said something more like I would have done it differently, or
yeah,
if I'm gonna rebel somehow, I would have like decided not to come next season or something like that. But to do it at a very pivotal moment in the series, that was
yeah,
really fucked up. And to say like I would still do that because you could still mess that game up, that's not cool. Um, but yeah, it's like in a way, it's like, dude, it's your fault. It's like you signed the fucking papers, no matter what. Yeah, I mean, you could say like the administration could have been like, you know what, we'll work with you and we'll work on it, right? But at the same time, it's like, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Ultimately, they run that as a business, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
that's exactly what you
your
did.
contract. It is what it is. Like
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
owe you anything
And I
extra.
didn't. That's another thing too that I learned too is like Jordan also didn't make that much money as a player. The
Hmm.
majority of his money just came from like all the sponsorships and all the other stuff he did on the side, which makes sense,
Yeah,
'cause I don't think like Chicago's never been known to be like a very, I guess, an organization that can pay a lot for a lot of people, right? Because I mean, you look at them,
sure.
you had like Jordan and Pippen and then all these other players. I'm not saying they're not great players, but they're not, all stars
Hmm.
like these guys were. And even then, these guys being like Jordan and Pippen or even Rodman, they were still getting paid maybe slightly a little bit more than the rest of them, and that was about it. I
Yeah,
don't know. Like we don't know about anything what they were getting paid. Um, there's a lot of stuff though. Like I said, Phil Jackson, the way he was doing stuff, or I think the biggest one for me was obviously the one where we find out that Reinsdorf actually went to Jackson after the last championship and asked him if he wanted to come back, he could come back. Despite what Kraus said about that
yeah.
being last season, he said he
Mm.
would like, you can come back. And I think
Yeah,
Phil,
Jordan didn't really did he believe that necessarily? I
from
kind
what I
of
remember,
a
he was
few
just
weeks
like,
removed
what? Like
here.
he didn't even know like that actually happened.
Yeah, he didn't know it happened. He's like, yeah, I'm sure we could have figured it out. Probably the
Yeah.
hardest part of that would have been Pippen, obviously, because
Right.
like his contract was up. He was obviously mad about the whole money situation, and he did leave. I mean, everybody left, right?
Yeah.
At that point. Um,
But only because they,
yeah,
they knew it was going to be the last season, so they weren't even really going to try
yeah.
to see if they could work something out. Because they're like, why even bother if
Hmm.
the main team, like the team that put them together, the coach that got them together, was going to be gone anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the end, like like Jordan was kind of really, I thought that was really interesting too. Like he was kind of really taken aback and kind of disappointed because he knew that he could probably win another game or another series maybe,
Hmm.
just because he was so used to that team already that they probably could have won again. Um,
Yeah. And so, like, as far as a number, because some people aren't content with that. Uh, I'm fine. We had two three-peats. Like
yeah,
that satiates my appetite for championships. So it's like, it's so it is sad that like it prematurely ended, and it's like it didn't end because like, oh, this is the end of the era. It was just
right.
like we don't want to keep this going. It's like, well, like what would have happened if they did keep this team together, and they could have gotten over their differences and just
Mhm. I think
see if they could have won.
I mean, and this is not something that we learned about it, but I think the one thing that I was always kind of disappointed in is that it wasn't just a six-peat all the way through, straight.
Hmm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, yeah, it was two three-peats, but they missed one, so they had to do it again.
yeah,
Um, that would have been better. I mean, that would have been just the ultimate thing. But no, but regardless, though,
for
I mean,
sure.
like, it put them on the map. Everyone recognizes them as like one of the top teams ever versus like,
Mhm.
New York, Boston, or LA. Um, yeah, no, it
Don't
was
forget the Warriors. I don't
right,
like
right.
the Warriors, but there's plenty of people who think the Warriors were a better team. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, like that was pretty interesting. I mean, I can't think of anything else that I learned about other than like I mean, the majority of stuff there obviously is all news to us.
hmm,
But I think some of the more shocking moments too is that when we found out that Steve Kerr's father was shot too.
for sure. Yeah, I
Like
had no idea about that.
I didn't even know what he did or like the fact that he was just a teacher, like teaching. I think what was he like in the Middle East or somewhere?
Yeah, he was like yeah, some sort of ambassador
Yeah,
for foreign relations and whatnot.
yeah, and he was like a professor, and I think they ended up just shooting him, which is pretty messed up. But it was also interesting how I think they also talked about it. That they never actually talked about that, like as a way to connect. Like Steve knew that was something that
Yeah.
connected them, but at the same time, it
Mm-hmm.
was something they ever brought it up or talked about.
So the food poisoning story.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
the infamous flu game, obviously. What did you think of
the
this
revelation.
story? This okay, so like the
So
story. Do you want to break down the
no, no,
story
go
or?
ahead. Yeah, no, you go ahead because you know it better.
Yes, I mean Jordan was up late one night. He was really hungry. He was staying at a hotel. I'm not sure. I think it was like the Marriott or something like that.
Mm.
In Utah, right?
Is it Utah? Hmm.
It was Utah, yeah. And then yeah, he wanted to order some pizza. So they ordered some pizza. They found this random pizza place. The people show up. There's five guys supposedly who show up to the hotel. I don't know how they knew Jordan ordered pizza. I doubt he
Yeah.
called and said, "Hey, I'm Michael Jordan." I mean, maybe you could like figure out, oh, the players stay in the hotel. I'm sure
They just
people who
poisoned all
follow
the pizzas
sports, you could find out what hotel visiting teams
for
playing.
sure.
Like, how
Totally.
do you know that's Jordan's room? So yeah, they show up at the pizza. His trainer, right? His
Yeah.
personal trainer is like, I don't know about this pizza. I don't think you should eat it, Mike.
Stupid.
But Michael ate the whole pizza and he got sick. Uh, yeah, I just don't believe this story at all.
It is weird too because I remember when he was saying that he said like, "Oh, none of the other guys." It's like, okay, nobody was hungry, just you. Like
Yeah.
you were the only one who wanted to eat that pizza, and then like you said, also, wouldn't they have brought the pizza down to the lobby to take it up? So like, how did the trainer know that that was coming up to him? I don't know. Actually, I think sometimes the food people do go to the room, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it.
For
I
hotels,
mean,
yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure
some
if they
like
have
I
to
was
drop stuff
listening
off in the
to
lobby.
yeah, I was listening to Bill Simmons podcast and they were talking about how well, some guy claiming to be one of the guys who was working that night. He said no, there was only like two of us. And
Hmm.
like when we went up there, it was and supposedly this guy was actually a Bulls fan uh, in Utah, and
That's possible.
yeah, it was just two of them, and it was I don't think they like went to the door just like as they maybe handed it off to someone, and as
Right,
they were
exactly.
they were just
Mm,
kind of looking over and seeing, oh, who is it, who ordered the pizza. So
yeah.
yeah,
So at least we know that there was a pizza that was ordered. We don't
yeah.
know if it was
Well, I don't know.
poison.
This guy could be a liar.
Just
Who knows?
feeding into the whole myth. I
Yeah,
mean,
trying to get his
so
attention.
what are we trying to say though? Like he was just never really sick and he just played awesome.
Well, there's like, hey, he has the flu, which like, if you watch that, I mean, I haven't rewatched the game, but like, by the way they were showing how it played out, like clearly whatever sickness he was having, he was kind of getting better throughout as the game went along.
Yeah,
So I mean, so it could be a flu, it could be food poisoning, it could be him hungover. Uh, it
that's
could be any of
possible.
those things.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
don't know. He looks sick. Like
He
you
did look
usually
sick,
tell. You
and he
could
was
tell when
like
someone's
super
sick.
sweaty and yeah, and just sluggish. But then he
Yeah.
ended up scoring as many points as he did. It makes for a good story, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, Nobody else really complains. I mean, they still beat the fucking the Jazz, regardless of whatever happened, whether he said
Yeah.
that to anybody, if anybody actually knew that, they still won. But I think we also kind of realized from watching the series is that he does kind of make stuff up, Jordan.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was like there was
Yeah.
another instance where I guess somebody said good game or something like that, and that kind of pissed him off and just wanted to
Yeah.
beat them, and
And
then
then he's just like, no,
that
he
never
never
happened.
said that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, okay, you just wanted to beat him. That's fine, you know. Um, Back then when you were like watching this stuff,
hmm
did you ever get into the hype? Did you ever have like any stuff? Like I used to buy a ton of bull stuff, a lot of Jordan stuff for me.
We definitely had a lot of stuff, like 'cause like my older brothers were super into basketball, so we had posters. We had that, one poster with his arms, the
With,
wingspan.
with the balls, when he's like
Maybe.
when he's palming the balls, yeah, he's just like that.
Yeah, it probably has balls at the end of it.
Yeah.
We had that poster. We had one like where him like shooting like some shot in Chicago Stadium. I
Mm.
believe that was. But yeah, we had stuff for sure. What about you?
I just remember getting some of the shoes. I wasn't none of the '80s stuff, more like the earlier '90s stuff. I would say, like I remember getting the patent leather ones for sure, which was
Yeah,
like
those are the ones I had. I
the
think I
shiny
had
ones.
the white with the baby blue
Yeah,
accents. Yeah.
I had the original black and red ones, and then I got the white ones with blue, and then I think they did another version, like they did like low top versions where it didn't have the leather, and they were
hmm
kind of open. They kind of had mesh,
hmm
so it kind of like breathable. I don't know. I couldn't play basketball. It didn't really do anything for me. Um,
I like that one moment in the series where he wears like his old school shoes and it just like fucks up his feet. He's like, my
yeah.
feet were bleeding afterward.
I didn't understand that though. Like, was he wearing like his original pair, or was he just buying was he wearing a new like another set, and they were just bad? Or they
I'm sure it
outgrow
was
them?
new and they probably just were not like designed
He
well,
didn't.
is
He
my
didn't.
guess.
He didn't break them in.
Yeah.
Um, I do want to say, like, as a tangent, because of we were talking about the shoes.
Yeah.
If anybody watches Netflix, there's a series called The Art of Design, and one
hmm
of the episodes, each episode focuses on a different field of design in a way. But one of the episodes is on shoe design, and it's with Tinker Hatfield, the guy who designed, who basically like helped Nike explode
Okay.
on the scene by designing all their shoes. He was like an original like pole vaulter runner, and I think he hurt himself, and then he just started working for Nike designing them, and he designed all the shoes for Michael, uh,
hmm
for Jordan. And there was one instance where they talk about how one pair of his shoes that he did for Jordan that
Yeah.
they're fucking ugly as hell. A lot of them were ugly, I think, but these were very horrible, and I think they didn't sell well, and I think he was just kind of
Uh,
like, it was an off time for me. It was like I think he was just going through some stuff, and he just like it's funny, he kind of blames it on that. I got man, they can't all be winners, but I thought it was funny that he kind of blamed it on that. But it's a side tangent. It's really cool to see how the design goes into it and the technology that went into making these shoes, because he was like the first one to design them to have like like the original Air. I don't know if they were called Air Ones or Air Max, where you could actually see like the bubble of the air inside and the
yeah.
soles. Yeah, like he was the one who like first started doing all that stuff, and doing the technology. And then they talk about doing the making the Back to the Future Nikes actually a reality. So it's actually a really cool episode about that. But
Another side tangent. you ever see on Disney Plus, like, what is it, The World According to Jeff Goldblum or
Oh yeah,
something? I
yeah.
don't know.
I
Is that
never,
the
I
name
never
of the
saw the
series?
episode. I mean, I never seen any of those episodes. Yeah.
There's an episode on shoes randomly. Because Jeff Goldblum really likes wearing cool sneakers. So,
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
he's got an interesting style of his own. Um, when they were all that, when this was all happening during the same time, did you ever get to go to any of the rallies or the celebrations in Grant Park? Grant Park is like our major downtown area.
Yeah.
Um, what do you call it? It's just a park. It's where a lot of events happen. Jazz Fest, Take the
Yeah.
Show, all that happens there.
Lollapalooza, yeah. By the way, it was canceled. A lot of people are mad about it. I don't know why people were surprised. They're
Right.
dumb. But no, I went to the Cubs rally when they won. I never went to a Bulls rally though, unfortunately. And I know we talked about so like, did you ever see them in person? I still to this day haven't been to a Bulls game, unfortunately. But
Really?
did
Well,
you,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I did. Like, well, I went to a lot of the rallies back when I was growing up. It was insane.
Okay.
Like I said, I think I mentioned like my mom would take us, and she'd be corralling all these, four kids, and me being the oldest, trying to get to like, come on, I want to get closer. Being short, I mean, I'm still short now, but being a short kid, and just in this massive like sea of people, like it's kind of weird now because I don't even know if they would ever do it again. I mean, they would, right? Because if they win, and not for the Bulls, but for any sports team, I just feel like nowadays because of
Yeah,
the whole
they had plenty of
COVID
like
situation.
Blackhawks rallies and yeah, yeah, for sure.
But it's just a sea of people, and it's very crazy. But it's just amazing to be there. It's just like it's the whole FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Like I wanted to be there and to celebrate with everybody else and see them. And
Mhm.
so I've never seen them. I mean, if you say if I've ever seen them in person, yeah, I saw them when I was at the rally, but from like thousands of feet away, closer on the big
Yeah.
screen. And then until much later, when I was a teenager, I was actually able to go to some games, and I got to go to some of the championship games. Got to see them play against the Jazz, which was super
So
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, my friend's godmother, she worked somewhere where they just gave her tickets, so she had a really good job. So it was one of those things where she had tickets to go, and it was just, yeah, no, it was insane. I mean, that was my first time at a Bulls game during those times. So it was hit hit the bar pretty high, or raised the bar really high in terms of like seeing a game and seeing Jordan play, all those guys, which is like was always been my dream is to see him play. And
Mhm.
the funny thing is, I don't even think I ever really had a jersey yet because I couldn't really afford it. Like my parents couldn't really. They would buy me $100 shoes, but they wouldn't buy me a $45 jersey. Um, which I would have liked to have had anyway. I had the Space Jam jerseys, but I never had the Bulls jerseys.
Speaking of Space Jam, I used well, yeah, Space. I love that soundtrack. I remember I would
Yeah.
you have your little net set up in your room, hanging on the door, and I would just like listen to the Space Jam soundtrack.
Basketball
Just some
junkie.
seal, fly like an
Yeah.
eagle. And, I believe I could fly. A lot of flying. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, just shooting shots and you know doing the Marv Albert thing.
Oh yeah,
A spectacular move by Michael Jordan. I don't know why I bailed. That started pretty good, but I bailed on it. But yeah, I mean, as far as since you mentioned the rally thing, yeah, my celebration was just I lived right off of Fullerton, which is like a major like
yeah.
Fullerton and Kimball, which is not a major intersection, but an intersection in Chicago. We just go there and watch the cars
Yeah.
go by. People honking their horns, hanging out the window
Mm.
with their flags. Some hot ladies, hot Latinas, sitting out the door, like
Uh-huh.
standing up through the sunroof and stuff like that. So I remember doing that for sure.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that too, because I remember having the little pennants, and whenever they would win, obviously the newspaper, Chicago Tribune or the Chicago Sun-Times, I can't remember which one, or
Yeah.
if they did both of them, they'd always have like inserts for you to bring, so you could just be like that, just flashing it around, like, yeah, we won.
Yeah.
And I remember always purchasing the stupid. I think we were talking about this too, like the stupid shirts that say 3P. They're just really ugly
And
design
like little
T-shirts.
cartoon
Yeah, like
character.
the big
And
head,
I love those.
bobblehead
Those are so cool looking.
versions
But
of
you
the
can still
character.
get them. But
Yeah, yeah. Of course, the basketball or the baseball caps that said 3P or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, not the funny thing is like now people would love to wear it. All the hipsters would love to have that stuff, you know. But
Yeah.
after a while, I think after the first year, I was like, why am I wearing this? This is just not it. Like, I just give me a regular Bulls hat. I don't want to have this dated thing on there. Um, but I remember also too, like I was gonna say, another memory of mine before all that happened when I was much younger. Back in the day when the Chicago Stadium was still around, before the United Center got built and showed
Yeah.
up, the Chicago Stadium was there, and I remember they decided to knock it down because the United Center was up, and for some crazy reason, I don't even remember why we did it or how we heard about it or why we decided to go to do it. But we decided to go and see, like, oh, let's go see what we can get. As if, if somebody left behind some souvenirs or like stuff in locker rooms or whatever. Anyway, the whole thing was demolished. But
Yeah.
we went there and we drove by and some guys, just some random dudes, like how it is in Chicago, people trying to sell cigarettes off the corner. So
Hmm.
um, these guys are sitting there or standing there trying to sell bricks from the stadium. They were like, hey, $20 for a brick, $20 for a brick, bro, come on, man. And my mom's like, nah, my mom's with the station wagon and it's me and my siblings in the back. And my mom's like, nah, don't forget that. We're not doing that. And instead we pull up, drive further up. And she's like, there's some right there, get them. And we jump out of the car, go right over the fencing area, grab like two bricks. I'm like, because I'm a kid, so I'm like trying to carry these bricks. And
Yeah.
the guy's yelling like, "Hey, guys, put that down!" I'm like, whatever, like you don't own the fucking stadium or the
Sure.
bricks.
Yeah.
And to this day, I think they're like in a shoebox in the garage somewhere. It's just kind of
Yeah.
stupid. Like I'm sure my dad probably tossed them out, forgetting what they were.
Yeah.
It's just a brick. It doesn't say anything on it. So. But I thought that was funny. Like I'm like I can't believe we did that back then. Just the kind of stuff, crazy stuff. I mean, I guess that's like my crazy sports fanatic story. Is like taking a brick from an old stadium to keep, even though I've never
Yeah.
really been like a sports fanatic.
The one story I have, my friend. So yeah, we would celebrate Fullerton Avenue. Um, but what's it called? Yeah, so like I was younger, so like I couldn't go to the busy street. You can't go to
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Fullerton
right, right.
because
Mm-hmm.
something bad might happen, which I totally understood. But like one of their latter years, so yeah, it was definitely like the second repeat. I was at my friend Joseph's house, who lived right across the street from me on Medill, and we were watching the game for when they won that year, and then we decided to go to Fullerton on our own. So we just went to Fullerton Avenue, and I don't know if it was my family or my siblings. They saw me there. Told my mom,
How did they see
and
you there? How
yeah.
were they there?
Well, no, oh no, they're older than me, so they
Oh,
could go, but
oh,
I
I see.
couldn't. I mean, I just couldn't go on my own, I guess. So, but I
Yeah,
did. I chanced it and I got caught and I got in
yeah,
trouble. So
yeah.
I don't know if I ever got. I feel like I got grounded at that time. I don't know. My parents weren't really big on like discipline, I guess.
Mm.
Maybe my mom hit me every now and then, but that's
And
fine.
and now you scare the shit out of her every time she walks
Yeah,
by.
I got her today. I got her earlier today.
That's funny.
Laying on. You can't really see me in the video. If you guys follow me on Instagram, it's gonna be too late. It's a story, but yeah, I scared the shit out of my mom.
You should create a highlight for all the times you do
Yeah.
that. Just be like just pranks or whatever.
I have
Um,
some good firework videos where I scared her and my dad with fireworks, firecrackers. Pretty good.
that was pretty funny. Um, I'm trying to remember these other pieces that happened when we were watching it. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I can't think of anything else. I mean, I remember. I also do remember like after all that had happened, I had gone back to watch a basketball game at the Bulls when Pippen came so they could retire his jersey in the
yeah.
stadium. That was cool because a lot of people were there for that. Jordan was there. A bunch of other players were there. And then like much later, that was back in before I moved to California. Because I was working UPS, and one of the guys that worked at UPS, he's the one who had tickets, so we went to go. And then when I came back from LA briefly for like 2 years, I was working for the Salvation Army, and
Mm.
they would get tickets on occasion for sports events. And they said like, "Do you want to go to this game? Like we have like Salvation Army always has like a box, I guess, for people to come and watch if you had that with the tickets." And I was like, "Oh, cool!" And I took my dad to a game, which I thought was pretty cool to finally be able to take him to a game. Because
I've
I
never been
never
in like a
was it.
box or a suite or anything like that. I never done that. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I mean it
They
was
have like all you can eat and
no,
everything,
there was
or
nothing like that. That's the thing. It's like I think it's one of the things like nobody's using it, then they can rent it out to other people.
that's cool.
And so yeah, I didn't really have anything there. But I mean, obviously we got some beers and we just kind of like had some, like a hot dog and something like that. So it's kind of like I finally got to have that moment that people, a lot of like the American lifestyle of like your dad, you going to a baseball game or a ball game with your dad. We did go. I mean,
Yeah.
We used to go see like the Sox play back when you can get when a fucking can of Pepsi can get you in or something, to see the Sox play. Um, and then but I like you were mentioning that you never got to see the Bulls. I've yet to see the Blackhawks play, which I've always wanted to see them play or
Yeah, I
see a
haven't
hockey.
seen them either. I went when I was out in LA a few years ago. I did go to a Kings game. That was a lot of fun. I didn't dress
Yeah.
properly. If you ever go to a hockey game, make sure you're wearing a sweater because it's fucking
Oh yeah,
cold.
yeah,
Obviously, like the
yeah.
cold comes off that ice, and I just, it
For
was
sure.
hot in LA like it normally is, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's funny because in LA, it's the LA Kings fans are just as crazy as like the other LA Lakers fans. They're not as crazy as like Oakland fans. Like just destroy everything or whatever. But
beat
so
the shit
yeah,
out of
yeah,
opposing teams and
yeah.
shit.
I do want to see one of those games for sure. But I also never got to see one thing that I always wanted to see was a football game, a Bears game. Never got to
Yeah.
see the Bears play. I would
Yeah, I went once. One year, my ex-girlfriend bought me and my brother Robert tickets, and it was a season where we were shitty, and it
Mhm.
was like the last game of the season, so it was like New Year's Eve or something, or it was around New Year's. Uh, so it was freezing, obviously.
Yeah.
But they beat the shit out of the Packers, even though they weren't good that year. They still won. It
All
actually
right.
sucked. Sad story. I feel like I keep saying that this whole episode. Uh, we went to we went to the bathroom like during halftime, and the line was so fucking long. You remember Devin Hester, right? The guy who used to always
Yeah, yeah.
return.
Hmm.
He fucking returned the kick for a touchdown while we were waiting for the bathroom. Like, halftime ended,
Right, right.
second half started,
It
and
take
we missed
forever.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's why you want to be there for when Devin, because he used to do that all the time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that sucked that we missed it. But
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, Chicago sports are fun. I think. I mean, I guess in a lot of places, depending on where you're from,
hmm
it's always cool, right? Like, there's always those cities that have like they're very dedicated to their sports teams. But I think, there's very specifically, I would say like L.A., New York, Boston, um,
Philly for sure.
Philly. I mean, obviously Chicago. Um, I guess Green Bay, Wisconsin, to an
Oh yeah,
extent.
for sure.
You know, I don't know. Wisconsin, do they? Oh, they have Milwaukee, right? The Bucks. That's not Wisconsin. What is
Yeah,
Wisconsin?
for the
Yeah,
basketball, yeah, and
yeah,
they're really good.
yeah, yeah.
They might win if they keep that guy. I know his name, Giannis.
That guy.
Giannis, he's great. He's like probably the best player in the league right now. But I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like, I
there's
think.
no sports now, so it's like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
happening? I know they're trying to
Oh,
figure out like basketball and baseball as well, like shortened seasons, or finish the season rather for basketball. But yeah.
right. That's gonna be weird. Um,
Yeah.
how have you? So for me, and this is why I like The Last Dance because of how they shed a light on this whole empire that the Bulls built up. I,
hmm
I kind of stopped really watching basketball and sports for the most part. Like, after Jordan left and everybody left, it was kind of like that's it. Like,
hmm
I don't gotta keep watching like the best team ever. Like, I got to witness it. I got to watch them play.
Sure.
See this thing. I don't really have any interest in seeing them try it again. I mean, I guess that's kind of not selfish, but it's kind of I don't know. It's stupid because they could have won. Like, if they had a whole new team of a bunch of new players that you could really fall in love with, like with Rose and all these other guys that
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
thought had
those were good
potential.
years. Those were good years for sure.
Yeah,
Between like the
like
Bulls and the Heat when LeBron was on the Heat at the time.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
exactly.
definitely like, I mean, I was never, I'm not gonna pretend I was never the guy who like watched every game in basketball. Like it's not my sport. Baseball was my sport. So,
Yeah,
uh, but yeah, I mean, those were good years. Obviously, they didn't equate to a championship, but they were still a lot of fun.
Some good games, yeah. And I kind of wish that I was still keeping track of that stuff because I was like, man, it would have been cool because I do miss watching basketball. But
Mhm.
my friend, he still keeps up with it. He still watches a lot of it. And for me, it's just like I'm not invested in it because I don't know anybody. I don't know who's who, who's
Yeah.
great, like who's the rookie of the year, who's the next potential, whatever. I don't know any of that stuff. And even now, like it's fun to watch people. When the big sporting events happen, I'll watch them just because it's like, oh, cool. It's a Super Bowl. Or like I don't have TV that has any of that stuff. So if no one's inviting me, if I'm not at a bar or something like that, then I'm never going to be able to watch it. I'd like to because it's just fun
Yeah.
just to witness those major
For sure.
events. But yeah, I mean, you just said it. You don't really follow basketball. I stopped following it, but
Mm.
this is an episode
Any
about basketball.
so I mean, a few more things, I guess. I don't know. I
Sure.
don't even know how I want to
Whatever
go
you got
back to
left.
this, but
I
like
don't have anything else.
like quite a while back, you mentioned it was like the beginning of the episode. You mentioned the fact that it would have been cool if like they did it 6 years straight. Uh,
Mhm.
but I mean, I think that whole aspect of not aspect, but Jordan's father passing and him, he initially I guess wanted to be a baseball player, so
Yeah,
obviously he stepped away from the sport or retired or went on hiatus, whatever you want to call it. I just think like that section of his career, I think that just makes his story that much more intriguing.
for sure.
That happened. It's sad that he stepped away, and it's even sad that with this last dance is centered around that they prematurely ended the team, and then Michael Jordan eventually came back and played for the Wizards. With let's not think about that. I'm sure no one really cares about that anyway. It's fine. It didn't like fuck up
Right,
his legacy or anything.
for
But
sure.
it is sad that like seemed like the height of his game, he walked away from the sport for a few years, and it would have been cool at least to see, even though they dismantled the team, it would have been cool to see him, stay with the Bulls and see what would have came of that. Maybe nothing, but yeah,
Yeah,
it
or maybe,
definitely
maybe,
it sucks
maybe,
not to know.
yeah. I mean, even if it had ended with that last season, it could have been 7. It still could have been
Yeah,
7. But either way, like you said, it is cool because it's like it's so unprecedented to see like an athlete like just switch up careers in that way and to be able to play a completely different sport and retrain and to do it. And he was all right. I mean, he wasn't amazing at it. And it sucked that the media basically kind of said, "Don't quit, go back or whatever." And it's like, who gives a
yeah,
shit, right? Like he just wanted to
yeah. I
play.
remember him getting a lot of slack during that time. I think they played. I don't know if it was like an interleague game or maybe like an exhibition game with the Cubs, and
Mm.
I recall him like missing a catch in the outfield, like a pop fly,
Oh
and
yeah.
just like them really making fun of him for that. But I liked how the series got into that and kind of like how
Hmm.
that kind of grounded him, like traveling with the team. And obviously it helped. I mean, there was still people showing up to these minor league games in droves,
Right.
but
Yeah.
still, it's like
It
it's not
wasn't.
as much
Yeah.
as you would be playing in the NBA. So
It
it was
wasn't
nice to
the
like
big
see him
spot.
be able to get centered.
That's true too. Like I think that's funny that like he is who he is in the NBA, but when he was at the
Mm.
in MLB, like he's just like a regular dude. Like
Yeah,
obviously he's still Jordan, but he wasn't
yeah,
playing like Jordan. And I think that, like you said, it kind of humbled him in the sense like he was just like another guy on the team, and everyone treated him like that. He
hmm
was all cool about it. Like I mean, he never been. Obviously, we saw a lot of stuff where he was kind of just like pushing his team a lot, whether he was making fun of him or just kind of
for
like
sure.
yelling at him and stuff like that. But he never really did it out of malice because, like we
Yeah.
said, he's competitive and he needs you to be at your best in order for him to win. He can't win it himself, despite everyone saying like he's awesome or whatever. He knows he can't do it by himself, and he needs
For
you.
sure.
He needs a team to be that good. So
And it seems like in retrospect, all the, players who are interviewed throughout the show, they speak on that. Like, yeah, he
Mhm.
was an asshole. He was a dick at times, but like it seems like they understand why.
For sure,
There's
yeah,
a really good moment in the series where kind of Jordan gets emotional and he's like, this is how I play the game. This is how I approach it. If you don't want to play that way, then don't. That's just the
yeah,
way I did
hmm
things. So you could tell that there's maybe some regret as far as like maybe not having the relate. I mean, I don't want to speak for him necessarily, but like maybe not having the relationships that he probably could have had, like closer bonds,
yeah,
not be as much of an asshole. So yeah,
If
it's
anything,
cool to see that human side for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And I think if anything, I think his closer friends are really his rivals than his actual teammates. I feel
Yeah,
like he's he still talks to Magic and Larry and Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley's always been a massive like trash talker and all this stuff. So I
yeah,
think that they get along really well with that. So yeah, I mean it's crazy, but it's also like you said, you get to see. I mean, when we also saw stuff where he paid and like helped out one of those security guards when he was getting sick after a
yeah.
while. So yeah, I mean, like we said, it was definitely much more like the Michael Jordan show in terms of the documentary, but it's because he's like at the center of what everything was.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. I mean, I was
Yeah.
happy with it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it
So
didn't seem like, I guess they call it a fluff piece where it's just like it's centered around this player. You just want to make him look good. But I think there was some revealing stuff here where they're not trying to like show a lot of bias and actually
yeah,
show
and it
like
makes
the
no
true
sense.
story.
Right, and it doesn't make any sense why it would have to be fluff piece to what? Like, he's just sitting in his mansion, chilling. Like, there's no reason for him to come out and be like, "Yo, this is why I'm great," or "This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
why we're great." I mean, I think it's just kind of like one of those things where like, "Hey, we want to release this. You mind letting us finally release the footage?" And
yeah,
like we said, I think he might have been like, "Well, it depends on what it is, but we'll,
for
we'll,
sure.
we'll talk about it or whatever."
Yeah, I'm
So
sure there was like some of that, right? And there's like external things that they probably didn't get into. There's some talk about like the exclusion of his ex-wife in the series, but it's like I guess that's not really. I mean, it is part of the story, but it's just not included here. And I mean, me personally, that's fine. It's like
no,
I
yeah,
understand. I mean, obviously it sucks for like anybody who gets hurt through that, but like
for
I feel
sure.
like athletes, like you're an athlete, you're having people throw themselves at you all the time. Like it's probably pretty hard to like, not give into that. And it's like, well, I'm sure all the players are doing it, like
Well,
what's the point of
Well, yeah, I mean, like
I
what?
don't
Dennis Rodman was with Carmen Electra and Madonna, which is kind of crazy.
know.
All those people he
I
was, but
mean,
at the
am
same
I
time,
off base here with what I'm saying? I
no,
don't
no, no,
know.
no, no. I mean, I get that, but at the same time, I mean, we have to also understand that she would have to give consent about this stuff too, and she probably would have said like, I don't want anybody talking about me for anything,
Yeah.
So even if he said like that's fine, I'm okay with it, because he did go through a lot of stuff, and even if he said we can talk about Juanita if she says it's okay. And
Yeah.
she could be like, but no, because I mean, like even his kids barely show up. I think in one at the very last episode, they actually pop up to say like, oh yeah, we were at a game, and that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
No one. I
So,
mean, it would have been interesting if they actually talked to them and be like, what does it feel like to fucking have this guy as your father? Like this casts this giant shadow over you. Like, what are you doing with your life? Like
yeah.
one guy looked
Which
like he was like,
Jordan,
hey,
Jordan himself said that in his Hall of Fame
oh yeah,
speech.
yeah,
It's like,
you're right.
I don't know how you guys are gonna live up to my legacy. He's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward about that. I'm like, yeah, it must feel shitty.
But I mean, like it makes sense. Like he's the way
Yeah.
he is with his people, like with his
Mhm.
teammates, that he would probably be like that with his kids. Like if he wants the best out of his teammates, he would want the best out of his kids. But at the same
Sure.
time, it's like, what can you do? Like he can't. I mean, short of just cutting him off, like you're gonna make your own money. You're not gonna have anything,
Yeah.
until you go make a name for yourself. But one last thing I wanted to mention, because we did talk about this before, but you said you never went to Michael Jordan's restaurant.
No, I did.
You did.
I vaguely remember it. I don't remember the food being that great, but I remember being excited that I was there.
Yeah.
You?
So Jordan had a restaurant, obviously in Chicago. At the I don't know around what time in the timeline did he open this up? Was it way after he had already retired? I can't remember.
I don't
Um,
know. I feel like no. I don't know.
I don't
Probably
know.
could find that
Maybe around the
information
time when he
out.
became like yeah. It was just called Michael Jordan. It was a very weird looking restaurant, but it was just kind of Americana, really, right? It was just kind of like typical staples of American food. I wouldn't say it was like. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, I feel like it was a little too high end pricing for what it was. And I think
Hmm.
I mentioned to you before that there was something on it that my buddy used to love to order, which I thought I didn't understand why, because it was just fucking mac and cheese, but it was like Juanita's mac and cheese, like I guess the way she made it, but
Nice.
it's just like typical Um, I don't know who does it, if it's specifically to any particular group of people, but it's like has like the breadcrumbs on top with some like little bit of
Yeah,
like chili or pimento on top like that. I like it that way. I like it like that too. Like I used to work in
for
an
sure.
all black neighborhood and for the Salvation Army, and then the cooks were there and they made always like the food that they made is just basically just like all kind of like uh I don't want to say their food, but it's just like, yeah, and saying soul food is weird because it wasn't soul food like anything crazy, like collard greens and all that stuff. But they would make the mac and cheese like that, and it was
Yeah.
always good. And I always loved it because they would always save me food, like I didn't have to pay, so I just go back there. I'm like, what you got for me? And they would give me that. And it was like the same, it was the same mac and cheese. That's why I knew. I'm like, hey, this is how you guys make mac and cheese. That's awesome. You know, like I
Yeah.
remember this from that because my mom doesn't make it that way. Um,
Yeah, so I found out. So Michael Jordan's restaurant, it operated from 1993 until 99, closing shortly after Jordan's second retirement. So yeah, it was like pretty much through the championship years,
wow,
right?
wow, yeah. And I remember after that, I think Sosa bought it and changed it into his restaurant, from what I recall. And I don't think that Sammy Sosa.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah,
That
it's just
white
funny
guy?
all this stuff that's like, yeah, exactly. I think that was around the time when he got it. Um, and I also remember having Michael Jordan's cologne, which is I think they still
Yeah.
sell it
Maybe
actually.
maybe my brother had one of my brothers had that.
It was a cool
Never
looking
been a
bottle.
cologne guy myself, but yeah.
Same. And then
You a
for some
cologne? You're not a
reason,
cologne guy?
no, and for some reason my mom always buys it for me. Like I have like I've had the same like three every year. It's like another bottle of eternity. You know, it's just like I still haven't used the one from 2 years ago, Mom. Last year or the year before that. Whatever.
Wear some what was that called? Cool water when you were younger?
Cool. I don't know. My dad had it or Drakkar. He had Drakkar. I remember Drakkar was a nice musty
Dracar
smell.
Noir, yeah.
Yeah, and
No,
then
was it Noir? I don't know, or
I think
just
it was Nora.
Dracar.
You know, I think it was Nora. And then I know we're going on tangents, but I just want to say Ralph Polo or Polo Ralph Lauren.
Yeah,
That was another one. Of course,
I'm actually,
CK1. I will say CK1 was really good.
yeah,
Even like the knockoff versions are pretty good.
yeah. I'm just like particular about. I mean, I don't buy cologne, period. But I am that guy. Like when I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, it happened on two different occasions where like a guy walked past me. I'm like, what the fuck is that smell? It smells amazing. And I
It's
asked him, like, what are you wearing? Uh, so yeah, I have two. They're in my on my
that's the
Amazon
cabinet.
wish list.
Oh,
Yeah, I think one's like 75, the other one's like
holy shit!
125. Uh, but
Wow.
I remember them smelling really good. I don't know what they're called,
I
but
mean, I don't know. Like, it's similar to wearing deodorant or Axe body spray or whatever. I mean, I use some. I don't use Axe, but I have some body spray. But I still have some cologne. I think it depends on what it is. I just feel it's a little weird to be overwhelmingly
it's usually overwhelming.
pungent.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the smell. I think my friend who was in town, she actually brought me one, uh, like a small vial of like perfume,
Yeah.
and it actually smells really good. It's like a mix of like rum and coffee and something else, and we were both saying like this is my smell. Like I like I'm like I'm wearing it and I'm like it's gone now. It's like I can still smell it on you. I'm like all right, cool. As long as I still smell like it. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
wear. No, no, no. Let's stay here for a sec. One last thing. No, yeah, my smell is Old Spice deodorant. I really like Gain laundry detergent. My buddy Robert Rodriguez, he may or may not listen to this episode. I got it from him because his whenever we would go to beauty bar, he would fucking smell so good, and I'll just constantly smell him. Like, what is that? So yeah, Gain detergent, and then I guess cigarettes too, which I need to quit smoking
yeah,
cigarettes. I
see,
still am, but
it's a mix of that stuff. Yeah, it's a
that's
combination
my
of
smell.
things that smells really good. That
Yeah.
actually would be funny if they release that. I mean, for me, my deodorant is always not always. I mean, it's usually a mix between Old Spice or
Hmm.
Arm& and Hammer. Uh,
Okay.
uh
Yeah, I've been like dabbling with sorry guys, we'll wrap up here in a sec. I hope you're enjoying this. This is whenever I listen to podcasts, this is my favorite kind of stuff.
We're just
Screw
riffing on
rules.
things. Yeah.
What the hell was I gonna say? No, I've been dabbling with like and deodorant, like more natural, organic deodorant.
Mhm.
Or something that doesn't have antiperspirant because that's not supposed to be good for you because it
Right.
blocks up your sweat glands or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, that shit just doesn't last you the whole day. You know what I mean? like you're gonna get musty eventually.
You
I
mean
guess I'll
regular
take that.
standard deodorants?
No, just like something that's more organic
Mm.
that doesn't have the perspirant, only has the deodorant part of it. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like it doesn't. It typically has that issue where it
for
doesn't
sure.
last you the entire day.
Have you ever used the crystals, the rocks?
No.
Yeah, I use those. It's like it's just a. I mean, I got hooked into it because of what people are saying. It's organic. It's a real rock.
Yeah.
You're supposed to put water on it and then rub it on. I
Okay.
don't think I ever really got. It didn't block the
Does it smell
smell.
like anything or no?
No, it doesn't smell like anything. It's just supposed to like neutralize the smell,
Yeah.
but I can still smell.
Yeah,
So
I got some Tom's deodorant, which
I've had Tom's
natural.
before. Actually, no, you're right. Yeah, Tom's
Yeah.
lavender scent is actually pretty good.
I think that's probably the one I got because I love lavender. But
Yeah,
I mean I like Old Spice. I don't stick with a certain one. I actually they're always coming out with like cool ones like in the white.
I just buy whatever's on sale. So whatever's cheap and on sale.
I have too
I,
many. Since I was dabbling with those like natural ones, I literally have like 5 sticks of deodorant right now. But it's nice.
I'm
I
a,
have one for my bag for when I'm on the go. I have one
oh,
at
for sure.
home, so it's like everywhere I go, I have a
I'm
deodorant.
like how I am with my paychecks. So I run deodorant to deodorant. I
Hmm.
knew a guy who used to always buy. Used to buy
That's usually how I go.
Mitchum. Have you heard of Mitchum?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I've never bought that ever. My buddy would buy it just because it reminded him of Robert Mitchum. I don't know if it's named after. I don't think it's named after the actor.
Who's Robert? Well, he's an actor.
Yeah,
What was he in? Can you
it's like
recall anything?
old school, like 1930s or 40s films, I think, or 50s. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, I've seen one of that movies, one of those horror movies he was in.
Yeah, but I don't think it's named after him.
Sorry.
But I just think that's why my buddy bought it because he's like, yeah, I'm wearing Mitchum. So I'm like, okay. All right. I think that's enough sports talk for 2020. Uh,
Sorry about that tangent, but that was
no,
fun.
no, no,
I
like you said,
enjoyed that.
like you said, that's usually the much more fun stuff. Anyways, I mean, I'd say like we really wanted to talk about obviously the Last Dance. It's a big thing, and I think a lot of
Yeah.
people really enjoyed it, and so did we, especially being from over there. So we figured like we wanted to talk about something that kind of we were connected to in a way, because we lived
Yeah.
through it. We were there. I mean, you guys might have lived through it as well, but I mean, if you weren't in Chicago, then you don't know what we're talking about. But yeah,
Yeah.
and the
And
same
you'll
thing.
never hear like that initial episode, but this one actually went slightly differently, so it
Yeah,
was
no, for
fun.
sure. I think it's a little bit better.
Speaking of Robert, what happened?
No, I think it went better. This
I,
episode.
I agree. I agree. I was dreading it 'cause I'm like, oh god, we gotta talk about the same thing
Yeah.
over again. Yeah. But yeah, Robert Mitchum, Night of the Hunter is the movie I was thinking of.
Night of the
He
Hunter.
plays
Yeah,
like that's a great movie.
yeah. You're right. That
Yeah.
is a famous one.
Anyway,
All right. Any closing remarks?
that's all I got.
That's a good way to end it. As always, don't forget that we are on Instagram. Oh my WAWD. He is Boy Decide. I forgot. You don't have any underscore, right? So
Every
Boy-
time you say that, I'm like, it sounds better and better each episode. I'm like, oh, I did a good job. Good job, Jason. You picked a decent username.
It is a good name.
Finally.
Boy Decide. He also does a lot of. I don't know. Can they follow you on Letterboxd?
Yeah, if you guys use Letterboxd, it's a really cool app/website where you could rate and review movies and like make your own list and stuff. It's really cool. So yeah, if you want to
and
follow
Jason
me on
posts a
there, I
lot
think
about that.
I don't know if I changed it. I need to check.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you go by the same name on that.
It might be I could check. It might be of mixed descent on there just because I think it's one of those things where they make you pay to change your name.
Your name?
No, well, no, I don't know. Forget it.
Ugh. And I am Avidon_arcade, obviously. Sorry.
I'm sorry. It's of mixed descent if you want to follow me on Letterboxd. I didn't change it. I do want to actually.
And you should totally post some of that stuff on the. I mean, I know you posted to your personal one, but on the
Yeah.
WAD one, I might start one up because you don't have to actually write reviews. You could just rate them
You
and
could
that's
just
it.
rate
Right?
it, and it asks you for a date. It gives you a little box if you've seen it before, you can click on that, so it'll log it like as a rewatch. you know. So,
Oh,
but yeah,
cool.
you can make your own
Okay.
list. So lists of
Check it
stuff
out.
you want to see, or lists of your favorite horror movies or greatest movies of all time. Like you could do all that kind of stuff. And they have a pro version too. And the coolest thing about it is the end of the year. They give you like a year in review, kind of like what Spotify does, where it
Oh,
says how many
cool.
movies you watched that year, what was
Your
like your
most
top
watched.
actor, like your most watched actor,
Oh,
or
that's cool.
most
Yeah,
watched
yeah,
director, which is
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool. One year mine was is Keith David the guy in They Live?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
Keith
he
David,
was my
famous
most
voice
watched
actor.
one year.
Really?
Probably
Ah,
because I watched They Live and I watch Requiem for a Dream at least once a year, and of course The Thing, which is one of my favorite horror
yeah,
movies.
I
So
think it's so
yeah.
good. Um, and also Hip Arcade. Hip Arcade is the website where you can find all the cool pop culture stuff that I haven't really been making any new stuff, but there's a lot of cool stuff on there. Check out the website. Check out the Instagram for Hip Arcade as well. That's where we post up all the products for the most part. And yeah, as always, check us out on YouTube. This is where you'll be able to see this live, or not live, but
Yeah.
us here physically here. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep doing what you do. Just do more of it. And we'll talk to you next time. See you next time. Peace.